Hi, you're probably watching this video because the clamps broke on your housing for your air filter on your 2004 Mitsubishi Galant GTS. Well, I'm here to show you how you can replace your housing if you get a new one, or how to put in your air filter the best way so your clamps don't break in the future. Here's a problem when it comes to the air filter. These clamps hold the air filter housing together when you put the air filter in. And the problem is that these clamps, these metal clamps, are held by these little plastic hinges. So what happens is, if the air filter isn't in correctly and you force it to close, you can break these hinges. And that's what happened to my air filter casing, so I had to replace it. So I'm going to show you the best way to replace your air filter so you don't break the hinge, and it's a little bit involved. And the tools you're going to need will be a flathead screwdriver and a socket wrench with about 10 inches of extension down to a 10 millimeter. So it's easy to remember, 10 millimeter, 10 inches of extension, boom. This is what you're going to need. This is how I replace my air filter to make sure it's in perfectly. Or if you want to replace your air filter housing, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to remove this electronic connection to the air intake. There are 3 bolts you're going to have to unscrew, and you're going to loosen one of them, which is this one right over here. You're going to loosen that bolt. You are going to remove this bolt, and then there's a bolt up here you're going to remove. You're going to remove that bolt, and then you are going to take away these 2 fasteners. There's going to be a fastener in your fresh air intake right here and here. You're going to pop those out with a flathead screwdriver, and then you can then lift this whole casing out. Flathead screwdriver, get up under there, wiggle it out. Do the same for this one. And when you're screwing this bolt here at the top, remember how close you are to the battery terminal. So try to make sure you don't touch the battery terminal with the wrench. After you've unscrewed the bolts, make sure you carefully lift the socket wrench off, because you don't want it to fall down into the engine. And they're still sitting there, so I'm going to reach in and grab those. I also have a magnetic tool that I can make sure I grab the bolt, and the bolt also has a washer on it. Bolt with washer. I also want to show you another anchor holding the air filter casing on, and it's just basically a little stud coming from the engine block. You just lift the air filter casing off of that. You're good to go. Disconnect like so. Lift that anchor, take it out. Here's a clear shot of that anchor I was telling you about. So here is the air filter housing. You've got your fresh air intake and your air intake right over here. And I've taken out the filter. And so here's how it goes together. For it to go in perfectly, it has to go like this. It tilts it, slides in here, pushes down, locks in, and then closes, right? And then you just put your snaps on, okay? Here's where the problem lies. See how far back it has to be to fit perfectly? You have to tilt it this way, slide it in, and then close it. There's not enough room in your engine block to do that. So it's almost impossible. And you don't even have the filter in there yet. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong while you're trying to wrestle with it in there. So that's what happens. Now with the filter, and the best way to do it when you take the whole housing out to make it as easy as possible. And I find the best way to put in your air filter perfectly is to have that freedom to have it all out, because one end is rounded and one end is not as rounded. And so is the filter. So you just put it in, fits in perfectly. And then you do what we talked about. Take the other part of it, slide it in, and boom. Fits in nice and snug. And what you do now, you just close the clamp, no pressure. Because what happens is you don't have that much room to put it in, and what will happen is sometimes when you take your car to get an oil change or a filter change, some places when they don't get the filter in right, they'll still force this clamp closed, putting a lot of stress on that plastic hinge right there. And eventually it will break and you have to replace this whole thing. So those mechanics sometimes are moving very quick. They're great, but sometimes they'll force it. Some places like Jiffy Kingdom or Tire Lube, you know what I'm talking about. But this way we can do it ourselves. Make sure that air filter is in there perfectly. No stress on our hinges. And then we just reinstall it back into our car. Attach this first, then get this anchor back on there. Then I use my magnetic tool to get my bolts back in. Then don't forget to take this cord, run it underneath, so you had it, and you reattach it like so. Get it right in the position you want it to be, hold it in position. Nice and snug. Then you just reattach these plastic anchors. I only have one, but just push it in there. And the other one will go here. So there you have it, how to replace an air filter housing on a 2004 Mitsubishi Galant, or how to replace your air filter and get it in there with the best fit so you don't put any stress on your clamps. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video and I really hope it helped. Be sure to comment, tell me if I can do anything better. I am not a mechanic. I am really just a stand-up comedian and I've been doing this in my spare time for fun. So I wish you guys the best, and the next thing I'm looking for are headlights. I want to switch out my headlights and they are expensive. They are $400 a piece. I can't afford that right now. So if you know any cheap headlights for Mitsubishi Galant 2004 GTS, let me know, comment, and I will get them and replace them. And I wish you the best, and I hope your clamps never look like that. See ya. Good luck.